The world has become afraid of silence. Every empty moment must be filled. Music in the car, videos while eating, podcasts while walking, messages, notifications, voices. Even when we are alone, we are rarely in silence, because silence has become uncomfortable, not physically, psychologically. The moment the noise disappears, something else appears. Thought, memory, regret, loneliness, restlessness. And maybe that is why so many people cannot sit in silence anymore, because silence removes distraction. And when distraction disappears, we are left facing ourselves. There was a time when silence was not seen as emptiness, but as something meaningful. In many Buddhist traditions, silence was not merely the absence of speech, it was clarity. The mind, constantly speaking to itself, was seen almost like muddy water, always moving, always disturbed. But when the water becomes still, it begins to reflect clearly, not because something was added, but because the movement stopped. And so silence became a form of observation, not escape from life, but attention to it. To sit quietly beneath a tree, to listen to rain without reaching for distraction, to watch thought pass without immediately reacting to it. These were not meaningless moments. They were practice. Because most people do not control their minds. They are carried by them. From one thought to another, one fear to another, one impulse to another. And silence interrupts that movement. For the first time in the day, a person may suddenly hear their own mind clearly, which is exactly why many people avoid it. Taoism approached silence differently, not as discipline, but as harmony. The Taoist sages often spoke very little, not because they lacked wisdom, but because they understood that reality becomes distorted when over-explained. There is a Taoist idea that the more aggressively a person tries to control life, the more life escapes them. And so silence became connected to stillness, patience, non-force. A river does not argue with the mountain. The wind does not announce itself before it moves through the trees. Nature does not constantly explain itself. It simply exists. And perhaps that is why silence feels so natural in forests, near oceans, beneath open skies. Because silence was never unnatural, only unfamiliar. And now for a moment, let's just be quiet. Maybe that felt uncomfortable, maybe peaceful, maybe longer than expected. But notice how quickly the mind wants to escape silence, how quickly it searches for stimulation, a thought, a voice, a distraction. Modern life has trained people to fear stillness, not because stillness is dangerous, but because stillness reveals things. The Stoics understood this well. For them, silence was connected to restraint, to self-control. A person who reacts emotionally to everything, who must answer every insult, who cannot stop speaking, becomes predictable. And predictable people are easily controlled. Stoicism taught that between an event and a reaction, there is a space. And within that space, a person reveals their character. Silence could therefore become strength. Not weak silence, not fearful silence, measured silence. The ability to remain calm when others lose control, to observe before reacting, to speak carefully instead of endlessly. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly in private journals, but publicly he was known for restraint. Because wisdom is not always loud, and confidence rarely needs to announce itself. But silence does not only belong to philosophers seeking peace. There is another side to silence, a darker side, one understood very well by Machiavelli. Machiavelli saw human beings differently from Buddhists or Taoists, not as distracted souls seeking harmony, but as political creatures, ambitious creatures, dangerous creatures. And in that world, silence became strategy. The person who speaks less often reveals less. The person who reveals less becomes harder to control, harder to predict, harder to manipulate. In many situations, silence creates power precisely because people cannot easily interpret it. A silent person forces others to project meaning onto them: confidence, mystery, authority, threat, and often, people reveal themselves simply trying to fill the silence. There is a reason experienced negotiators pause before answering. A reason powerful people often speak slowly. A reason truly dangerous individuals rarely need to raise their voice. Because silence changes the balance in a room. It creates tension, attention, uncertainty. But perhaps the deepest form of silence has nothing to do with power over others, only awareness of ourselves. Because eventually, every person encounters silence in some form. A late night alone, a long walk, a hospital room, a distant horizon, an empty house after everyone has gone. And in those moments, there is no performance left, no audience, no distraction, no noise strong enough to fully cover the mind, only yourself. And maybe that is why silence matters, because silence removes illusion. In silence, we begin hearing things that noise was hiding. The modern world teaches people to constantly express themselves, to react instantly, to share instantly, to speak instantly. But not every thought deserves expression. Not every emotion deserves reaction, and not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes silence is wisdom, sometimes silence is self-control, sometimes silence is grief, sometimes silence is peace, and sometimes silence is the closest thing we have to truth. Maybe that is why oceans calm people, why forests feel ancient, why snowfall changes the atmosphere of an entire city. Because beneath all human noise, the world itself has always been quiet, and perhaps part of us still remembers that. The power of silence is not that it removes life, it is that it allows us to finally hear it. If you want to go deeper into these ideas, we recommend the book The Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. For centuries, it has explored stillness, silence, non-force, and the quiet wisdom found beyond constant noise and distraction. You'll find a link to the book in the description and in the pinned comment. You can also explore more philosophy and psychology books through our bookshop page. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more videos like this. Leave a comment and share your experience. Thank you for watching. And if you want a little more silence, just listen.